Okay, good afternoon, Composition 2 students. This is a makeup class for the one that we missed because of the department needed to use our room to do interviews. This is going to be a little bit different because I can't see my screen. I can't see the clock, which is probably my fault, but this is, I've been working at trying to make my last few video lectures for several hours. There's some technical problems with my devices and it's not working properly. So I can't see the screen, I can't see myself like I usually do. And so I can't see how long I'm going to talk for, but I think I have a sense of generally how long I'm going to talk. So hopefully it won't be too short or too long, but we're just gonna go with it. At this point, the exam's only a couple days away. So I just want you to put your mind at ease and reassure you that you're ready to write the exam if you're doing the right stuff and you're studying the right way. So Fearless Fiends was the chapter that we skipped, but I'm not going to delve into that. I think you should be able to, by this point, after doing about 10 of these things, cite passages, like I said, the analytical process should be familiar to you, and just doing a chapter, whether it's Fearless Fiends or a later unit in the textbook, Unit 7, Part 1 or Part 2 or whatever, doing that is probably the best way to study for the exam. As I said, I'm going to give you 2 cite passages, and then those are going to be followed by different types of questions. The easiest type of question is the comprehension question, where it's just sort of a fact-finding exercise. You have to be able to understand what the question is asking you, and then you have to literally find the information in the paragraph, or in the paragraphs, as the case may be. I think one of them is 2 paragraphs, and the other one is 1. These paragraphs, as I said before, I've written them myself, so they're original, and there's mistakes in them on purpose. That's where the artificial intelligence, I'm not sure if they could do that. Maybe they're getting to the point where they can intentionally make mistakes, but I did them myself. So there are mistakes in them. When you get to the point where I ask you to judge the paragraph, whether it's a good paragraph or not, and explain why, you should be familiar with the reasons why a paragraph would be good or not, or better or worse, right? There's no such thing as a perfect paragraph, which gives us all hope that we'll still be writing, even after we develop machines that can write really quickly, that the judgment will still not be absolute on which creative writing is better. The one that's generated by human mind or by an artificial one. Maybe there will never be perfect writing. Certainly, my favorite writers, Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, Edgar Allan Poe, I would never say that they're perfect, just that they're better than everyone else. So remember this, you can make your own judgments, you just have to be able to justify them, right? Provide reasons for them. So when you're doing the second part, this is part A. As you may recall, I said last class when we were doing review, this is part A and this is part B. I think it's split 70-30 or 60, actually, I don't have the exam in front of me. I think it's 65-35. When you get to the part about paragraph writing, this is sort of the order, because you probably want to know the criteria, right? Whenever somebody evaluates your writing, they're going to have their criteria. So you have to apply this, and this is the evaluation part. When you read the passage, you look for the logic and organization and structure. Is there a topic sentence? Is there a concluding sentence? Do the supporting sentences make sense? Are they connected to each other? How good is the organization of this paragraph? Can you follow it? Or do you think there's something wrong with it? Some things will be obvious, and some things will be less so. So you have to look carefully, right? Like I said, there are mistakes, so that's a clue that you're not supposed to say there's nothing wrong with it. Otherwise, that question would not be worth very many points, and it is worth more than 1 point. So there's a few things for you to look for without giving too many things away. So comprehension is straightforward. It's literal meaning of things and information. That's comprehension. The same things that you're going to use to judge the paragraphs, you should apply to your own writing. Of course, it's harder for you to do it to your own writing, and the clock is ticking. That's why the title of our lecture, because there's only 2 days left before our exam, the title is Time is of the Essence. That's a famous expression. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's a sort of industrialization term, so that when in English they started to come up with terms to describe the industrialized society that they were creating in the United Kingdom, time became the essential unit of everything. And you might have thought that, well, of course it is. That's how I do everything. I set my alarm in the morning and I get up at 7 o'clock every day. It doesn't matter if it's summer or winter or cold or hot or rainy or sunny. That's just what I do. But actually, that's not natural. That's not what human beings are supposed to operate. Just like if you look at the animals, bears sleep all winter, for example. Human beings who are farmers, of course, would have gotten up much earlier in the summer. Just get up with the sun. If you're living in the northern hemisphere and you're farming, and the sun goes down at 6 o'clock and you don't have electricity, you're probably not going to burn candles all night trying to do work on the farm. And plus, depending on what country you're in, you might not have anything to do. If it's frozen like Canada, you wouldn't have much to do in the winter except for trap animals in the frozen forest. So, time of the essence is an expression that came into vogue, became popular when people focused on, being as productive as possible every minute of the day. I worked in a factory, and everybody knows Amazon and Coupang and stuff. What they're focused on is, how much it costs and how much labor they can squeeze out of each person to get as much, as many products out the door and delivered in a certain amount of time. The more efficient, the better. But anyway, this is the kind of thing, these are the kind of abstract kind of questions that you need to consider. You don't need to know if it was a 19th century thing or an 18th century thing, or if the expression was created on the internet last week. You just have to be able to look at the context. There's no context for time is of the essence, but maybe you could have guessed that it just means that time is very important, right? It's the essential element of the industrialized modern world. It continues to be now in our digital internet, information age. That still is a measurement that's the most important thing for how the world connects and operates, right? We have time zones and we count seconds and minutes, and I don't think very many people were doing that 2,000 years ago, when they were just trying to make, grow enough food and have enough good enough shelter to keep themselves alive from season to season. So no matter what the topic is, whether it's food or it's celebrations, festivals, or whether it's a personality, we did these things, an amazing person, or something else like a natural disaster. That was the last chapter we talked about, was about lightning. Remember Roy Sullivan and his decision to end his life after being struck by lightning 7 times really wasn't related to the main topic. That's a clue, another clue to, something that structurally is wrong and is kind of sort of illogical if you try and stick a fact or an interesting thing that's not really closely related to what the topic is, what the topic sentence or the argument is of your paper. So yeah, logic in organization, where I'm really judging how strong your argument is, how well it's supported, right? That's what I'm going to be concerned about. So this is the same sort of perspective you have to take when you're making, criticism, doing your criticism of the site passages you read on the exam. So as I said before, the hardest part of the exam probably is the discussion and critical thinking questions, although depending on how fast you write and how comfortable you are with English, maybe part B will just be the hardest part. But discussion and critical thinking require you to think figuratively sometimes about abstract things, right? Figuratively, abstract things. What I mean is, it could be an expression, it could be actual time, like seconds or minutes, or it could be just the idea of time, right? Things like, emotions like love or hate, or complicated ideas like industrialization, or economy, or something like that. Those things you have to think about carefully, and they're fluid definitions, so they include a lot of different meanings and in a lot of different contexts. Don't forget, that's always something I told you to remember when you are doing your critical thinking and discussion questions. I'm not sure if I reminded you last week when we were doing review or not, but one of the things that is really important to do is put whatever you're saying into its context. Look at the specific details and see how you can relate to them, or how they relate to each other based on the information that you're given. If you're asked to go beyond the text and think about it and apply it to another situation or come up with your own ideas, this is what abstract thinking is. And you just have to provide your own ideas often that go beyond the text. Take something from an idea from the text and then apply it to something else. The last chapter, which we didn't cover in detail, but if you want to read it, I said, please do practice it when you're studying. It only takes you about an hour to process this. We go through it in detail in class. When you're studying, I don't know how many hours you're going to put into it, but it only takes about an hour to go through a unit and answer those questions. I don't think any of you had to spend hours on your homework on any assignment this semester. Even the writing assignments probably took you a few hours, but the paragraph writing on the exam, you have 45 minutes maximum to write it. So I'm not expecting, again, when you're limited to 45 minutes, timed writing is difficult, and some organization and some careful attention is going to be sacrificed simply because you don't have enough time. So make sure you don't run out of time for this part. But when it comes to critical thinking, you do have to dedicate some energy to it and put some thought into it. And like Fearless Fiennes is this explorer, this guy who's a crazy explorer and loses fingers, in the frozen Arctic, and gets frostbite, nasty things, and he has heart surgery and everything, but then he just keeps going, and he's basically doing ultra marathons and going into these really risky, dangerous, incredibly situations that require incredible tenacity and strength and toughness. And you just think, like, why are you doing this? Really? Is it because you have a death wish? It doesn't say that. What it says in there is he's just a very brave, courageous man. But you have to go beyond the text itself and think, what is this guy? I'm not saying I know, because I don't. And I haven't read a biography on him, so I don't have a lot of, specific information from experts or anything. I just think when you see somebody who's doing things that are incredibly dangerous and risky over and over again, I'm not talking about jumping out of airplanes where an accident happens 1 in every 1,000 times and experts almost never die. I'm talking about situations where nobody does those things because it's so dangerous, like climbing to the top of Mount Everest. What's what's the chance of a regular person surviving to get to the top? I don't think it's probably much better than, 1 in 10. We're talking about regular people here, right? And the experts and the Sherpa who do these things, they often, have casualties. So when you're engaging in those kind of things, you're not. That's fearless is right. Fearless is right, but is it a good thing, or is it like something that's that he's not afraid of death, or he's not so concerned about the preciousness of being alive, like, or does he only feel alive when he's doing these dangerous things? Like, some people just feel like regular life is not fulfilling after they go across Antarctica, walking across Antarctica, and takes them 2 months in the frozen weather, like pulling a sled. Maybe regular life is too boring. You can make your own, you can draw your own conclusions from the stories and from the information, and that's what critical thinking is really about. Just considering the perspective, considering the possibilities. What does this really mean, right? What are the passive things that I haven't considered? Because critical thinking is actively engaging, turning your brain on, and paying attention to what is going on. It's not watching YouTube for 20 seconds or TikTok or whatever, shorts or reels, Facebook reels, whatever. It's not just, passively not engaging, just letting information go in one direction, and just assuming that, oh, they're just trying to sell me this, and oh, that looks good, I'll press the button and it'll be delivered to me tomorrow. I think we got to get away from that. And I think that's one of the strongest reasons to study English, in that something our department offers to all majors is that using your critical thinking skills and taking them into the real world after you study. So I hope this has given you some inspiration and some energy to finish the term strong and to do your best on the exam. It's not multiple choice. I know it's hard to do. It's also hard to grade. So we both have to put our energy into this effort. And I saw some really excellent creative writing this semester from all of you. So I know you all can write well. Academically, everybody still has to get a grade. So I wish you luck on all your exams, especially this one. And I will see you on Tuesday morning. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope you see this video soon. Good luck.